Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmerced.com, and this video is an introduction to Python Django. So Python's a programming language, and Django is a web framework, one of many in Python, including Flask, Bottle, Pyramid, Web2Py, a whole bunch. The purpose of a web framework is to create a server that can basically deliver your website. So it'll help serve views, handle routes, all these things. And Django is a robust sort of batteries included framework, which means it does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So unlike using like Express in Node or Flask in Python, where it gives you sort of they're more minimalist frameworks, so they're there to really help you set up the routes and build out the server. But things like authentication, object relational mapping, and features like that are things you have to bring in from other libraries. Django kind of wraps all that up together in one. So that's the introduction to what Django is. Now what I want to do in this video is just kind of get set up. Okay, so this is not going to teach you Python, so this is assuming that you have some knowledge of Python. You don't necessarily need a whole lot to work with Django, because Django, again, is batteries included, so it does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So more importantly, you need your knowledge of sort of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to build out your views, but otherwise a cursory understanding of Python and Python environments is useful. Okay, so just to kind of, again, a couple things you need on your computer. You need to have Python. I'm on Linux, so again, if you are on like an Ubuntu distribution, the thing to keep in mind is that by default, Ubuntu comes with Python 2 because it depends on it. So if you just type in the command Python, you're actually using Python 2. So if I type in Python -v or dash version, see, I get 2.17. You have to install Python 3 separately. So you would have to do like a sudo apt get Python 3. Okay, and install Python 3. If it's installed, then you should have a command called Python 3. You can type in version, and you'll see that you have the Python 3.76. Now if you're wondering where that's installed on your computer, you can always just type in which Python 3, and that should show you where that's coming from on your computer. Okay, these are just some useful things to know. Now on top of Python 3, you need to also install pip3. So again, there's pip if you're using Python 2. Again, this is on Ubuntu. If you're on like Mac or Windows, Windows doesn't come with Python, I think, installed at all out of the box. So if you install it, just install Python 3, and your Python command should take you care of. I'm not really familiar with the situation on a Mac. It might be similar, but you basically want to check which version you have. So, okay, I should have pip already installed. Yep, and again, see that links to Python 2, mentions it, while pip 3 should attach to my Python 3. Okay. And I didn't type in the version, that's why. And there you go. Okay, so once you have pip3 installed, what we need to do is first set up our virtual environments. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is download what's called virtual Env Wrapper. So it would be pip3 install virtual env wrapper. I've already done it, so I'm not going to reinstall it. I would highly recommend reading the documentation for virtual env wrapper, because depending on your setup, you may have to do some extra work editing some script files on your computer to tell it to look in the right folders for your environments. Essentially what this does, virtual env wrapper, it's one of many different tools, it's not the only one, to work with virtual environments in Python. Virtual environments are how Python handles package management. It's not my favorite way of doing it. So far, if I were to rank the different ways to work with this kind of thing, I actually really like the new Deno for JavaScript, the new JavaScript runtime, which just uses ES6 imports. That is very easy to work with because it just uses URLs. Next, I really enjoy Node. Because you have the package and composer, which basically you have that config file, package.json, that lists all your dependencies, and it's just easy to use. I always find virtual environments hard to get set up initially, Once you have it set up, it's pretty straightforward, but it's always annoying to get set up because of all the configuration. So make sure you read the documentation when installing Make Virtual Env Wrapper. It'll save you some stress. But essentially what virtual environments do is they create a separate sort of bubble of Python. Okay, so that way when you install different Python packages, it's only installing it for that environment, because you may need different versions of Django for different projects. So then what you do is you'll create an environment for that particular project and install your dependencies there, and then any project you work on in that environment has access to those, but if you need a different version of something, you can create a separate environment with those separate packages. Okay? Like, I've deleted all my environments. You can always check which, once you have Make Virtual Env Wrapper installed, you can check whether there's any environments already installed by doing ls virtual env. So you got none. If you needed to remove one, you would just type in rm virtual env and then type in the name of the environment. I don't have any, so I need to actually make one. So I'm going to make one for working with Django. So make virtual env Django. We're going to call it because this is going to be for the purposes of working with Django. Okay. Okay, it doesn't like it. Okay. Cannot find home Alex Merced in your path. Let me deal with that real quick. Okay, after a lot of trial and error, I figured it out. Basically what happened was, and let me just explain to you so that way if you know if you have to do this. Okay, so I'm editing my .bash src file. Okay, and then I have to put in all these variables. So you see here, this is just the variable for where your virtual envs will be stored. Okay, this is where my Python is, and this is, that's just that. I don't even think I need that. This is where my virtual env installed, and this is the file I'm sourcing. Now the mistake I had made is that these need to be big strings of text. I can't have any spaces, because the minute it sees a space, it thinks it's one sort of token. So what happened is I had some spaces in here, so certain lines weren't processing correctly. So just keep that in mind when you set up that part. So Control X, and then you basically, then I hit source, I source it, which basically runs the commands, and I didn't get any errors, so I'm assuming they were good. So let's actually try this whole make virtual env Django one more time. That's promising. And it's doing it. It's doing the thing. Yeah, so once you get to past this part, this is, everything else is smooth sailing from here. It's just setting up these these things. Now if I want to see, now notice that I'm in the virtual environment. So you notice that here it now says Django, meaning from now on, whenever I'm using Python and I install libraries, it's installing it in that virtual environment. Now if I want to get out of there, I can type in deactivate. And it'll deactivate it, and it's gone. And again, if I want to see it listed, I can type in ls virtual env. There's the different environments I have. And then if I want to open it up, I just type in work on Django, and now I am back inside of it. Awesome. Okay, so now you have that set up. So the next piece is we just have to install Django into our virtual environment. So pip3 install Django. And that'll take a second. It'll install Django, and you can also hit space and install whatever else you want to install, but I'm not going to do anything right now, just Django. So it begins to install it, which will take a bit. Okay, if you're used to installing dependencies, you know how this goes. So that's installing, that's installing. Okay, I'll just pause this while that does that. Okay, now that Django is installed, now we can actually create a project. So we just type in Django admin start project. I'm going to call this project 1 because it's just for education purposes. Okay, we hit that and it'll actually start spinning up a project. So let me bring up the folder thing so you can see, like here, so you created a folder called project 1, and it has all the stuff in there. Okay, which is really just a manage.py. Now, manage.py basically is the file you're going to invoke to basically do all your commands as you work on the project. Okay, let's just do the basics. So I'm going to cd into project 1. So now I'm in the folder, and I'm going to type in python 3 manage.py. Python 3 manage.py, and I think it's run server. And this will run the server. Just give it a second to do the thing. You have 17 unapplied migrations. That's all fine with me. And see, it starts a server on port 8000. So let me go over here to the, let me open up a browser window. Okay, let's go to localhost 8000. Okay, and there you go. You have technically the web's running. See this your Python project is running the server. This is just the default page, and over the next several videos we'll work on this and make it have more stuff, be more cool. So one step at a time. I'll see you guys in the next one.